The Pope and I, the Ten Commandments and the Five-Pointed Star. May 8, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. Last night I got hit with a question that really threw me for a loop. Why do I address Pope Francis as Most Beloved Francis if I am not Catholic and an agent of the Vatican? Because I am not addressing him as Pope. I am addressing him as a child of God, a man with a Father in heaven who wants him to do the right thing. I am reminding him of who he really is. I remind everyone reading this of the same fact. I have no time for Catholic haters, Protestant haters, or haters of anyone, period, at all. I have not the time of day to waste with blamers, whiners, or pity-potty pundits, either. There is work to be done and I call on all men and women of goodwill to do it. Please note that God gave us all free will and we choose to do the right thing or the wrong thing. We have been trained since babyhood to cling to our chains and to accept having other people do our thinking for us, but the fact remains that our free will is never absent. That is why I rejoice when I see people thinking for themselves, even when they blame me for waking them up, even when they don't agree with me. If they are thinking for themselves, that is a good and necessary sign, a sort of first base, that has to be achieved before anything else can happen. Once you realize that you do have free will and that you are responsible for thinking for yourself, a whole host of other things becomes possible. You can, for example, get beyond the infantile state of either, or thinking, and all the assumptions that go with it. We are meant to progress beyond either, or thinking in our intellectual development, but many of us never get there thanks to the indoctrination and oversimplification regimen we endure in public schools. I don't think in terms of either this or that. I outgrew that kind of thinking many years ago and just leave it in my toolbox as a sieve to help sort information, which is all it is really good for. Discernment of truth and an appreciation of life requires so much more than either it's this or it's that thinking, that those who can't get beyond this stage of development have to be viewed with pity. They are like race horses that have worn hobbles all their lives and are now crippled by it. Today, I want everyone reading this to make a conscious effort to think about their thinking and their free will and their actual empowerment. You don't have to let someone else do your thinking for you. You don't have to hand over your authority over your life to some talking head on TV or some politicians glad handing each other in Washington, D.C. The truth is that we are all responsible for what we think, say, and do. The truth is that we are all responsible for this world and the circumstance in which we find ourselves. It does no good to blame someone else or whine about it. The only help there is when we pick up our cross and carry it, and by triumphing in our own lives open the door for others to follow after. It's true that we have been lied to, defrauded, and betrayed. It's true that we have been enslaved in the land of the free. But it is still, nonetheless, the home of the brave. We must take up our bravery now and remember who we are and what this country is all about. Turn off the TV and walk the walk. When I was a little girl I was attracted to the bright white stars on the flag. I used to draw them, 5 points with the 5th point straight up, all in neat rows. One day, my dad scooped me up in his arms and sat down with me on his lap and he took up my drawing pad and drew a very peculiar thing. It was one of my 5-pointed stars, but it had hands and feet and a head. Do you know what the 5-pointed star means? He asked gently. I looked at him expectantly. It is the symbol of mankind. Look here are your 2 grandmothers. He pointed to the feet. And here are your 2 grandfathers. He pointed to the hands. And here you are. He pointed to the head. And your mother and I are here in the middle, in the body of the star, your body, my little star. Our lives are your life now. Who knew? The upward-facing point of the 5-pointed star is a symbol of our consciousness, our individual ability to think and move and be who we are, and it is all a gift from God and from those who went before, that brings us here to this present moment and makes us who we are. And the 50 stars on our flag? Those represent the nations of our states of the Union, the brotherhood and sisterhood of all the people from each state combined. This larger star is the symbol of our body politic, too, and of our government, of the people, by the people, and for the people. Our American government is founded on the principle of valuing mankind and valuing our unique lives and being, our stars all standing together in the spirit of one for all and all for one, or as more recent writers have said it, WWG1WGA, where we go one, we go all. That's what those 50 stars actually mean. I also was reminded in the call last night to point out again, why the Ten Commandments are the basis of all the public law meant for mankind to obey in the Western world. It's because everyone can agree on the Ten Commandments. Jews, Christians and Muslims all agree that the Ten Commandments are right. The Buddhists don't disagree. The Hindus look at us like, yeah, okay, you got that much right. Now, let's talk about your mistreatment of animals, maybe we can get to a full accord. All around the world people can agree that stealing and lying and adultery and murder are wrong, that disrespect of parents and disrespect of our bodies and disrespect of the property rights of others, are all wrong, wrong, wrong. We all know the basics of do no harm to others, and suffer no harm yourself. So that is why the law of the soil is based on the Ten Commandments. It's not a Christian thing, it's not a Jewish thing, it is an ethical standard that everyone can recognize and live with, that promotes peace among people and nations. And that is what we need.